not talking about escape velocity. If at all there is any change that you need to bring in the organization or within an individual, there is a threshold that we need to cross. That threshold is what, when we cross, is called as escape velocity. So test automation is that escape velocity for you and your teams to adopt or sustain the agility. The third key takeaway is measure the quality early. So we're talking about metrics. How do we measure? So set up CI with metric systems. How healthy is the code? How matured is the agile practice? Adopt the tools that help you to measure the quality. It's all well talked about. There are a lot of YouTube videos that are available for you to set up the system. But still, I'm yet to come across certain teams which have exploited the complete functionality or feature of continuous integration. How many of you use CI? How many of you think you have made best use of whatever CI offers for you? It's like, okay, we have done a lot of post-build activities, we get reports, we get published all the data, all that stuff around CI. Do you get email notifications when a build is broken? Okay, that's the most simplest thing that we could set up with the CI system. So we don't need to pay and spend a lot more on commercial tools. There are a lot more open source tools that are available. So even if you start up your own company, all you can do is even set up this on your laptop. So at least when you commit source code changes, you get to make a build. What we need to measure when we talk about code quality. This measurement is essential because you could measure how are you being agile over a period of time. Test automation being a key, we need to measure what's the size of product or what's the size of the project. How many of your team members are really aware of the size of project? Anybody? How many of your teams are aware that, okay, my team members, all of them know what is the size or complexity of product? How many of you watch for it? They all know what's the size of their project. They all know, like what's the KLOC, it's around 100 KLOC, 200 KLOC, 400 KLOC. So most of your team members do not know about this. The first step is to know this. Why this is important is you would know what's complexity of your product. What's the size of that product? Everybody might say as a metric, okay, it's just a number. So I would say if you want to have a peaceful nights, no hangover lessons, we should write zero code. It's a Jen statement. So when you have zero code, you have zero bugs. So the intention is to write as much less code as possible and get as many features out of it as possible. So to do that, you should have less duplicate code through the dry principle. So for doing that, you should measure what is the size of your code. So as well, today most of us code in the Java. How many of you do object-oriented programming? Okay. Rest, do you do C or something, procedural? Or you could be doing Ruby, Erlang. Okay. Why I ask this is, you could measure today the architectural decisions about the code that exists in the repository without anybody having to tell you, which was not the case when we started 10 years back. It was really difficult to make out the architecture just by looking or analyzing the source code. There are a lot more open source static code analyzers in the market that help you to envision or make out what is the current architecture of the application. For doing that, first step is we should move towards technical excellence. We have 12 principles of Agile. Out of the 12 principles, in the first 6 principles, it talks about technical excellence. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. How many of you are very confident that I have got the best of the resources in the industry? Most of your team leads, technical managers, you have the best of the industry in your teams. Only one. We always want more out of our team members. So the only way to build such teams is to give them an opportunity to learn continuously. So that's where we can drive towards technical excellence. That can happen provided you have the second set. You have the motivated individuals. So whatever I'm talking about, measuring is very easy if your teams are focused about technical excellence and you have highly motivated individuals. Build the projects around motivated individuals and give them the environment and support they need and trust them to do the good job. Whatever CI can be set up, it could be done by just one member. The person can set up the continuous integration in maximum of 4 hours. However complex is your project, provided all you have a respective build making script or a file It could be a Maven, or it could be Ant, or even if you are using a batch file, or if you could be using something else for your respective projects, it wouldn't take more than 4 hours to build your CI tool. So first step towards moving towards test automation is to have a continuous integration tool in place and set that up to measure the code quality. So this is for one of the project, I put a screenshot here. It's measured from a source tool, which I'll mention. It gives you a high level view of, how many of you have seen this screen before? At least this kind of screens. What tool is this? Sonar. Okay. Sonar is one of the most beautiful tools that I come across. So if your teams are using it, and I'm sure those teams are really doing much ahead. They're doing much better. Sonar is an index to the health of the team. From Sonar, what you could make out is, you could see what is the quality of the code. So I'll just show you a demonstration of the video. I just recorded in a very short period of time from a monitor.
As a part of test automation, the first thing that needs to be done by the team.
Okay, this is Jenkins. Most of you must have it, right? So I just recorded on the screen itself just to show. So if you use Jenkins as a tool, it's very easy to set up. Your respective teams have to first set it up in whatever machine and have it running. Then configure it with your respective SCM tools so that it checks out the code and makes a build. That's the first step. Have CI tool in place. And once the CI tool is in place, you can integrate it with Sonar. Is your Sonar integrated with your CI tool? Yes? Which company do you belong to? Honeywell. So Honeywell, it's a good thing to have. So that's a very good case study if you have a CI tool integrated with your Sonar. Because the moment you have a Sonar setup, you could do a lot more with it. How many of you have not used Sonar here? Please. Okay. So I'll just show a quick demo of what could be done with the Sonar. It's an open source tool, and you could go ahead and measure the technical depth in your code by buying some plugins. It's a free plugin you can set up, as well as there's a new architect, something called a Scale, which you can use to know the dependencies and the design of the architecture of your tool. So what I'll do is, instead of this video, I just have some sample project on my laptop. I'll just show that thing. Okay, so this is how your dashboard looks like. So you have a project. So at a high level, I have at least one project here, around 443 KLOC of code, 3,000 classes. As a technical manager or as a team member, my first concern would be to look into something what's called as duplication. So if at all, the moment your teams know, the moment you set up CI and Sonar, I would suggest first is to see what's the size of project. Is your project increasing from release to release? Is there a lot of code being churned out, or is it decreasing over a period of time? So that will be measured by your lines of code in the classes. If there are some 25 classes that are getting added from release to release, it means you're adding a lot more features into the product. Next is to really look into the duplication. So here, the concern is 20% of the code is duplicate. So if, as a team senior member, if I had to churn a better code, my thing would be to move as close as possible towards zero duplication. Cut down the duplication part of your code. So this is one metric that team seniors or team has to holistically look at. So what are the classes or what are the lines that are duplicate? Then go back and refactor and reduce the code duplication. The next one is to look at is the complexity. So how can we reduce the code complexity? Because it will help us to add new features over a period of time. So this is the first step towards automation or test automation. Then go back and manage your own violations. How many static code analysis violations are there? So from release to release, you could make out, compare it with the previous releases and see, are we doing better or worse? This kind of sample, whatever I'm putting up here, could be done in a matter of 4 hours for your respective projects. It doesn't take much time. In fact, you can go ahead and set up the static analysis parameters specific to your organization. The coding standards specific to your organizations can be set up as templates in Checkstyle, PMD, or Findbugs, and loaded as part of the Sonar itself. So you get to measure the quality with respect to your projects. Are you doing specific checks at Honeywell? Specific to, okay. So this is a very good practice because initially your teams might be struggling with the basic stuff. So we fix those issues. Then the team has matured. you won't find those bugs. Then you may have to enable the next set of checks. So that way you could go ahead and improve over a period of time the quality of code. So I would say as a team, if you're having this dashboard available in your team, you're doing good. That's the first indicator to measure the health of the code. So you can create different quality profiles. As I mentioned, the Sonar or the default one, or create one specific to your organization. Okay, how do you measure agility? Anybody from ThoughtWorks here? Any thought worker? Okay. ThoughtWorks has an online tool to assess the agility. This is again open source, okay? Open source in the sense it's freely available. Any of you can go online and take up a test. Online test, honestly, be intellectually honest, humble, and take up that test and measure where your team stands in terms of agility. So we did this exercise before and after. So before you could see, we were in ad hoc stage, both in terms of technical practices as well as management practices. Then we knew, okay, what are the questions? So what those questions mean? What as a practice we need to do in the team? Then after doing that, take it after the 4 sprints and see where are we. So we are moving towards being agile. Then we go back and start improving. So this is another way to assess where our teams stand with respect to agility. The fourth key takeaway is automate tests. Automate the user acceptance test, identify and adapt the test tools, build the reusable frameworks. It's so often talked about automate tests, okay? However, we have one thing, concern, where to begin? I have a lot more of legacy code, especially the people have a lot of legacy code, they'll have this big challenge. Where do I start? Which are the classes that I need to first write the tests for? Should I go and start doing unit tests from scratch? Or should I only focus on peripheral classes? Are the classes that are more important ones which carry the business logic? Should I go and use some tools like Selenium or JUnit or frameworks like JUnit or do some web test automation? Where to begin? It's a concern. So what we did was, first is, if you see this pyramid, on the left hand side, it's very much common. For engineers, okay, there are a lot of unit tests at the base, then we have functional tests, and then we have GUI tests. So unit testing is very easy to talk about, and when they start coding, it's not really practical. That's the reason most of the people who attend conferences and go back, they do it for some 2 sample classes, and then they leave it. Unless it is a very authorized or practiced in the team by highly motivated individuals in the team. It doesn't scale. Automating unit tests. It works when you write code from scratch, or when you write for a fresh code or you're developing a new product, it's easy through the TDD practice. It is not so for a legacy code. You have got a lot more of things to bother and split the modules and start doing the unit tests. If we wanted to do it for our telecom products, it was a lot more challenge. So we thought about like, what is really important for our customers? Most of our customers view our products through the UI. So whatever customer is doing on the UI is highly visible to them, accessible to them. So we looked by inversing the pyramid, we wanted to take 80-20 rule. What, when I put 20% of efforts, makes 80% difference to my customers? If I see that way, the first thing is, the inverse of this pyramid is the GUI test. So we wanted to automate the GUI test cases. So because that's where most of the customers spend their time on. Do you all have GUI in your products? Anybody who doesn't have, some modules could not be having, those which would be running through interfaces. But do most of you have GUI? Yes? Next comes the functional tests, which have got a medium visibility, and the unit tests. Do your customers see unit tests anytime? No, right? We all talk about unit tests. Unit tests build our confidence. Okay. In fact, I don't want to mention this tool name. It was available. It was from, he was ex-Google director. They had come out with this company, and you could upload source code on that tool. It used to generate a lot of unit tests for you. Has anybody done that exercise? There used to be a website where you could upload your code. They will generate the unit tests for your code. Okay. So in fact, I tried some sample applications that I used to write, and it generated some 200, 300 combinations of unit tests. And when I ran, I was very happy because all the unit tests passed. But in fact, there were bugs in my code. So 100% of unit tests doesn't assure that there are no bugs in your code. So I would say, in fact, do not spend more time every time doing unit testing, especially those with the legacy code. Start with the ones which are most important to your customer, because Agile is all about generating value to your customers or business. So if that is the case, start which makes more difference to them, see the value, and then work backwards. Over a period of time, you could be doing a lot more unit tests. But if you directly dive into the bottom of pyramid, you'll always be at the bottom of pyramid. So what we would do is we would just talk about these three layers. So partner for tools and tailor. Especially those who are good programmers, they have this habit, or a bad habit. They want to write everything themselves. They do not rely on others' code. They do not want to partner. They would rather use the tools that are there in-house, or they create themselves. In fact, what we should do is, we should get out of the do-it-yourself syndrome here. We should go for the lightweight tools and adapt, and cover the risks, and create win-win relationship both for the one who is providing you the tool, and in fact, go ahead and use it. So as part of this, we did some tool evaluation for our web test automation. So this is the kind of high-level analysis that we have. There's an Excel sheet with a lot more parameters. So we did a comparison between different tools for web test automation. Selenium, SahiPro, QTP, Jameleon, Vatir, Testing Anywhere, Eggplant. There were so many tools. So which is the one which suits our need the most? We came out with SahiPro. Whereas the rest of the industry talks about Selenium, we're on the other side. We're using SahiPro. It was browser agnostic. It costed us less. In fact, this is being done in Bangalore. The team sits in Bangalore. Whenever we need any support, any changes to be done, enhanced, the support for Flex-based UI, we went ahead and used this tool. They did an excellent support, and in fact, it helped us to do a lot more automation. So I'll just show about, you all must have done or seen your UI screen flows, okay? Wherein you do the lot more automation. I'll just show for one of the financial product, wherein we have this lot more links for the operator to operate. A UI demonstration about that. This is a Sahi tool with, when you launch, you have a browser agnostic. You can use Firefox, IE, Chrome. Can I say the same about other tools? Might not be. It depends. So when you run, we launch this application, and we have a lot more scenarios to cover in the web application. So all this is being taken care, and we are automated. It's very easy to automate. It's again through a JavaScript, and all I required was freshers out of college, whom we had to train about using JavaScripts and doing initially record and play. Most of the people think that web test automation is very easy. It's just record and play and nothing beyond it, which is not the case. What we make with our teams is, once you do a record and play, you generated a huge JavaScript file backend. We go back and refactor those scripts to make reusable modules, so that teams can use a function like login function, logout function. In fact, there is a platform which monitors a lot of nodes in the network. We call it a GNOC. So if I have to create some 1,000 or 2,000 elements in the nodes in the network on the GUI, manually it would take a lot of time. Recording would be recorded once. So we write and extract methods, do code refactoring, and call it again and again. So here are a lot more links on the left side. Today it could be English. We have French Telecom. So France Telecom is a customer, so it could be French later. So how do we test? The same software, the messages go in different languages whenever a small change happens. So this kind of tool helps us. And it is cutting down our major efforts from the team, say, wherever it is spent in the manual. So this is the first step of the pyramid to solve test automation using a web test automation tool like Sahi. Anybody uses web test automation tools here? Anybody? Yeah, which one? QTP. Okay. QTP is a commercial tool. You have an open source version of this tool as well. So if you're running your own startup, this is one tool which you can use. Okay. So what I would do is, for the sake of time, I would go to the next one. You get to see reports. It helps you to take even the screenshots, which tests have passed, which have failed, and developers could get to see which was the screen, what was the error message that has come, And what we have done is, that's why I said development and testing are on par. Test engineers need to have a lot more skills, especially the test automation teams. They wrote a script which will go hook on and execute certain commands on all these nodes, fetch the logs, and bundle and keep. For each of the test case that has failed, we have corresponding logs available which can be given to the developer. So all developer needs to do see is, okay, this is the screen that I've got, and these are the logs. From that, they could make out exactly where could be the error in the backend application and fix it. Yes, and there is no standard as such. It keeps evolving. So these products that we have developed have a lot more call flows. This particular call flow wherein the subscribers are created, if we do it manually, when we're testing, it takes 2 days. So when we did the automation using the Sahi scripting, so we ended up taking 76 minutes for the efforts instead of taking manual efforts of 2 days. So this is the kind of benefit that your team saves. Whenever any new release happens, you don't need to have any engineer sitting manually and doing it for 2 days. Instead, they could do it in using the tool or running the script. Oh, very valid question. This was one of our concerns when we used to evaluate the tool. So what we did was, we wanted to have a tool wherein, for example, today the customer said the submit button is there. I would like it, instead of being it at the bottom, it should be at the top. So the layout changes. So the Sahi tool, how it works is, it works on the HTML IDs. So even the element being there, as long as it is there in the screen is fine. If it is moved either on left to right or bottom, it still works. Because it parses, it uses internally a kind of engine which will parse the HTML, look for those IDs, and put in the data in those placeholders. So that way, whenever our releases change also, the amount of work that our teams or the respective development teams do is a delta. It is not that they have to go back and record entirely again. So that's the beauty why we have gone ahead and used this tool instead of any other recording tool.